microphone was on. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2025 Super Senior Bowl show. This is it. This is our last night in Mobile, Alabama. We'll be talking interviews. We'll be talking our team needs, who we want from the Senior Bowl to go to our favorite teams. And then to end it off, we have a special segment that we have thought of throughout the week. So before we get there, it's our last night, guys. How are we feeling throughout the week? We have the game tomorrow, and then we're all going back to our places of residence.
Yeah, I'm feeling good for the most part. Today was a much-needed day of rest for everyone involved. I think except me, took a nice little nap at some point. So, but overall, I'm still feeling pretty good. Got some hoops in, got a nice shower in. I'm clean, feeling ready, and raring to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. Been a good but long week. Still excited for tomorrow. And yeah, we got some hoops in. I'm feeling good now because I just took a nap.
I got this nice little Marshawn Lattimore color rush jersey, although he doesn't play anymore. Shout out to Cy behind the camera. He got me this in Dallas. So I had to rep it because we're talking team needs. And I'm feeling good, guys. I got a nice little workout in.
Yep.
So I finally got to test out that little 3 treadmill wide gym. And let me tell you, I didn't have enough room to spread my legs out.
Yep.
So, you got to
Makes
work with
sense.
what you got, though.
Mm-hmm.
But if y'all are ready, I am ready.
Yeah.
We can talk a little bit about our favorite interviews of the week. Kind of, I mean, if you want to mention 2 you really, really liked, I think I'm all for that.
Okay.
But, start it off.
All right. I think one of my favorites for sure, and definitely one of my longer ones that I did, was with University of Illinois wide receiver Pat Bryant. Really just kind of a down-to-earth guy. Talked about a whole range of things. Talked about what teams he visited. He basically visited with everybody, which is awesome for him. Talked about some of his hobbies. He's a fisher. Obviously, he grew up in Florida, in Jacksonville, Florida. He did fishing there. He did fishing when he was in college. So that was basically the only thing he said he was able to do outside of football and school in Urbana. Found out he's engaged and he's set to be married in June of 2026. Unfortunately, no invite for me, but I won't take it personally. Yeah, and just really some nice in-depth football conversation. He's basically said like, "Yeah, I'm a ball player, man. I'm ready to go wherever." I kind of joked with him because he said he likes to model his game after Jamar Chase. I'm like, "Oh, so there's a little uncertainty who wide receiver 2 is going to be in Cincy." He was like, "Would you like to be number 2 next to Jamar?" And he's like, "Man, I'll just be happy with whoever takes me," or something to that effect. So
That's the old Senior Bowl cliche.
it's not even the Senior Bowl cliche. That is the draft prospect cliche. Like, unless like you're like a top 2 or top 4 guy and like what teams are there, like you're just gonna say I'm happy to play for anyone, which is the right answer. So it's good that he said that. Just a really nice guy overall. Like nothing, no like big attitude like we talked about yesterday with some of those guys. Just a very down to earth guy and just a really nice guy overall.
I heard you had an interview with a home state hero, though.
Oh, that's right. Keandre Jackson, too, from Illinois State. Shout out to him. He just won national best DB for the national team. It was voted on by the wide receivers and tight ends on that team. Really just, I had enough nice things to say about Keandre. Only got him for a couple minutes as they were shooing us off the field, but just extremely grateful that he was there. Basically played his way in after his performance at the Hula Bowl, had 7 tackles, 2 interceptions in that game. And it's been a crazy couple of months because they got knocked out of the FCS championship at the beginning of December. The Hula Bowl was 2 weeks ago, and then he found out he got the invite from the Senior Bowl 8 days before players started reporting. So not a ton of time in between being able to rest from the Hula Bowl and all of that and then come down here to Mobile. So just a tremendously nice guy overall and just grateful that he was even here. And he handed one of my favorite quotes from him was like, "It doesn't matter if you're FBS, FCS, if you can ball, you can ball."
All right. I'd have to say my favorite interview was probably Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green, the tight end. I mean, I had to ask him about my craft, Fannin cheese. I mean, I had to ask him about it. Other than that, though, he was a pretty down to earth. Hey, whoa. He's a pretty down to earth dude. I was able to talk to him about various positions because he's been playing tight end and fullback here this week. He also said he's open to playing X, which 117 receptions in college, like I could see him moving there at some point or being used in a package that way. Other than that, I was just able to ask him a few questions more so focused towards Green Bay, but he said he'd love to play anywhere, just the typical answer. But he has played in cold, so I guess we'll just have to see where that goes.
We'll have another interview.
I mean, Jalen Royals, actually. I really liked the Utah State interview with wide receiver Jalen Royals. The way he compared himself or his game was to Devontae Adams, so Packer fans loved that one. Other than that, he also just kind of walked me through his mindset on a few routes and talked about his physicality and stuff like that. And then he also brought up Jordan Love without me even bringing him up because of the Utah State connection. So he's a very Packer build, but I could see him going. I mean, there's multiple teams that need receivers like him in the league now. He'd be a great outside or inside at this point.
I want to keep it running back theme because I actually interviewed 3 running backs, but in 2 interviews.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there was a guy, a Mississippi State boy. There was a guy who played there for 4 years before his last year, and that was Woody Marks. And so I made it a mission to get him. We tried to get him day 1, and I was like, you know what? Let's just save it for media day. I can have more of a personable interview with him. And that's what I did. I loved interviewing him, but I don't know if it was my favorite.
Okay.
I loved it. It's kind of surreal to meet somebody you had watched on TV for so long. Like before I even went to college, I was watching him on TV. So it's just like, when you interview him, it's a surreal moment. It felt great to have that. And, sometimes I get a little fanboyish and I try to tone it down and tell him I don't try to be super fanboy when I interview him, but I just want to let him know, look, I've been watching you your whole college career. I mean, you got the freshman reception record at State. You got the career reception record at State. So your name is in our record book. So that was a cool guy to have. But the last day I was like, okay, I got to get Trevor Etienne. Travis Etienne went to Clemson. That's probably my second school. My mom was from Clemson. So I had to get Trevor Etienne. And so Jackson and I, that was our mission. The last day of practice. So I see him. I see number 3, Etienne, and Jackson's somewhere, and I'm somewhere, and I just bolt to him. And I tap him on the shoulder. I'm like, Etienne, Trevor, can I get you? And he's like, yeah, but you got to get him too. And he points to UCF running back, R.J. Harvey. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go. The more the merrier. Two interviews for one. Let's go. I got a little buy one, get one free action going on. I mean, you can't even go wrong with that. So I set him up, asked him a couple things. I tried to not gear it more towards Trevor Etienne, but my main focus was, hey, I want to ask him about his brother. Does he want to be better than his brother? Is that like a competition? He said, no, I don't want to be. I will be better, but the reason I'll be better is because my brother will help me get there. And that answer was so fabulous. Like, it just perfectly encapsulates their relationship. It's like, man, these guys are brothers, and they'll do anything to help each other. You talk about, like, the Cooks and stuff, like Dalvin and James, and you're like, man, I kind of see it. I don't really see that with them, And so you talk to Etienne about it, and he's like, man, I'd love to be in a rotation with him. I'd love to play with him like we did when we were younger. And so it was just nice. R.J. Harvey was great, too. I just wanted that little Etienne talk. And so that was probably my favorite interview. And it was just like their hopes were super high because it was the last day of practice. And they were like, man, we got the game on Saturday. We're done on the field until Saturday. And they gave me some really good answers.
Yeah, and they, because obviously I was there with you, they really seemed to be bros, real bros. Like the fact that Trevor even say, hey, if you're gonna interview me, you got to interview this guy too. Those guys are gonna stay in contact throughout their entire times in the league, and I think that's really cool. Maybe at some point, we can stay in contact with them. We'll revisit and see where they're at.
I mean, I think it helps us more than it helps them. Low-key, to have 2 running backs in the interview.
Yeah, we'll take it too.
I'll take it. I wasn't complaining or anything. No, but they met this week.
Yeah.
Like they were already that close bonded in 1 week.
Yeah, and that made me remember something about Keandre. Like, he had all these other stickers from these other schools on his helmet. Like, he had Georgia State, Virginia Tech, Miami of Ohio, a few other schools that were on there. And that was just from him and his time at the Hula Bowl, like getting to know those guys too. So I'm sure he's built a bond here with the guys at the Senior Bowl, but the fact that he also built a great bond with the guys at the Hula Bowl, it's like these guys, like some of the nicest bunch of guys I think we've ever had the opportunity to talk to.
Definitely the closest group I've seen in a while here. They're all pretty close. The linebackers too.
Mm-hmm.
I got a chance to talk to the linebacker coach for the American team.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just telling me how they get up together, and they don't force them to eat together, but they're choosing to go out to eat together at night. They're choosing not to get up together, go out to breakfast together. Like, they're all closely bonded now.
Well, Sai, did you want to talk about any of your interviews?
I do.
Yeah, throw yourself up there.
I'm gonna talk about 2 interviews today. I could talk about a whole bunch. I think the total number of people that I talked to myself personally, whether it was an on-screen interview or just having a few conversations on the side, that was just
a lot.
me and the guy. I think we're at like 26, 27, which is more than I did last year. I thought last year I did lots. But there's 2 today that I'm going to talk about in particular. I want to talk about. I'm going to follow Connor on the running back train. It would be a mistake if I don't come on here and don't talk about Rashard Smith, running back from SMU. On my last day of practice, he was on the American team. He was the last team that we got to talk to. My one goal, outside of revisiting with Jackson Slater to see how he's doing, which I saw he had a really good day. Him and Jaden Milroe, future connection in the NFL, possibly. They have really good chemistry on the center together. But I was like, I gotta find Rashard Smith. I know you guys are laughing because Jaden Milroe's not gonna make the league, but not the point. But I got to go find Rashard Smith, and when I went over there, I wasn't expecting to see him with anybody. And he was with his head coach, Brett Lachey, and then his assistant coach, and then their head videographer guy. So I'm over there, I'm sitting, I'm waiting, just minding my business. And then Coach Lachey looks at me and goes, "What's up, boss? How you doing, man?" I'm like, "Doing great, man. How are you doing?" He goes, "Doing pretty good. You just watching us film this conversation or what?" And I'm like, "No, sir." Because, like, I was holding my tripod, full transparency. I was also, like, I was kind of nervous. I was like, "Oh, my goodness." Like, I was not expecting these people to be over here. So I was just like, "Hurry up, guys. Let me just get this quick interview in so I can dip." But I ended up having a little conversation with him on the side, and I got to talk to Rashard. And his biggest thing that he was very vocal about his time this week was just not trying to be someone who you aren't. Like, it's very okay to be yourself and to show teams your strengths and to, like, be coachable. And just, he was a very, very nice guy. There's another group who was trying to steal him away from me, so I couldn't make the interview as long as I wanted it to be, but he was a bucket list guy for me. He's one of those guys who doesn't get the love and attention here because there's name-wise, running back-wise, there's some bigger names here. But skill-wise, he's up there with being that most underrated running back. Like, he is somebody who's had spent 3 years at a wide receiver, who transferred over to SMU, transferred over to being a running back, fits that elusive backfield, very good hands as he was a receiver, and just this week he was able to show off what he does best, and it was really cool for the personal bucket list. But then I also got to talk about this was the longest all-in interview I had, and with the impact that this guy's team had on me all week. We got to talk about linebacker Cody Lindenberg from Minnesota, man. Those shout out
Minnesota guys, man.
Shout out our Minnesota guys. That is
real.
not the team that we expected to be besties with us this week, but that's the team that
You're telling me.
you're telling me. could cheer for the Gophers now because of these couple. Because of a couple of these. Oh, I'm not. Depends on who they play. They play Iowa. We don't know, but I was able to. So day one, Cody was having a good practice. I was like, all right, got some good warm-up clips of him. Got some good clips of him during the practices, and I started posting them and got a lot of traction. So I was like, I have to try to talk to this. I have to try to talk to this man, like make this a goal. So day two, I was able to speak with him. We spoke for over 4 minutes on film, and then we spoke for another minute or two off the book. And he's a guy who has had his injury history. He's a guy who is genuinely just happy to be here, and he had himself a really good week. And just to be able to pick his brain and hear about how humble he is and how like that first day he had some struggles. He wasn't playing his best football, so he was able to take his coach's feedback and he adapted to it. And on that second day of practice, he had both an interception and a pass breakup, which for a middle linebacker in particular, they're not the flashiest people on the field. They're not the ones who are known to be like to get the picks, to get the PBUs. That's more like a DB job. That's how a lot of people look at it. So being able to talk to him and just he's a sponge. He wants to learn. He's want to do whatever he can. And we got to talk about friend of the channel, John Joyner, as John Joyner was sitting in the background. So I was able to ask him, I was like, tell me the impact that Jaw's having on you, you guys being able to be down here, being on the same team, getting to play together for that one last time. And the amount of praise and trust and respect that they have for each other, they've spent their whole time in college in Minnesota together. They came together, they left together. Like, the amount of trust that they have, like that's his brother from another mother. So maybe that hear about that. And then off the book, we got to talk about his tattoos he had on his arm and the meaning and stories behind those. To me, was so cool because I really like personal interactions. Like, I know that like being sports media, we're supposed to talk about like
the X's and O's.
The X's and O's, but I know you're good at these. You're not going to be here if you're not. So, and I try to look at it outside the box. Like, I know all these other media people are gonna ask you about that. So I want to learn. I want to know who you are as the person, and being able to see like the intention from you. So you able to see that like this. He obviously wanted to keep talking to me. Like, he had other people who he could have talked to. He did not care. He was focused on me. He wanted to give me the full proper experience. And we got to keep talking about it. And now his family was texting me and DMing me and showing a lot of respect. And it's being like, hey, like, we know you. Like you're a face and we know you by name. And I got to see him the next day. And literally I just give him a holler. I'm like, Cody. Looks at me, realizes it's me. He could have kept walking towards his tunnel. He went out of his way. He went out of his way to dap me up, ask me how I was doing. I was asking how he's doing. Be like, hey, another day of practice. He's like, I know, right? And then I got to show off my maroon pants because I was unintentionally repping some Gopher maroon, and he liked that. He thought it was funny. John Winter also thought it was hilarious because he was also in maroon leggings.
Yeah.
In particular. So it's just, I could talk about so many more people, but just his in particular, like, I got to interview both my Iowa boys. They were good interviews. They were good people. But Cody in particular, by far takes the case.
Mm-hmm.
Honorable mention though to Keandre Jackson. I had a really good, just off the docket conversation with him at Media Day. We had a full conversation about a limited edition bucket hat he got and how he doesn't mess with the snapbacks, and big fan of Portillo's. Big chef.
Good man.
Big chef. Like, some really cool things. But that's all I got on that.
All right, I got you. Si's very passionate about the people he interviewed, so I had to speak on it.
Also, pause. I do have to. This is a question for Mr. Jackson. For a Noah Brock.
Noah Brock. Okay.
Is Jackson a certified gooner or not?
Oh.
That's the audience needs to know.
No, and I hate that you brought this question up.
I'm just producer. Y'all can't read the screen. I gotta read it for you.
Well, a question that we got asked before we made this video or decided to make this live stream video, we decided we're going to go one by one and highlight our team's needs in terms of filling them with people from the Senior Bowl. So, Jackson, if you don't mind,
I got you.
the Chicago Bears are on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
They're ready to pick in the draft. Who you got them taking?
Okay, so I'm gonna order this by what are the most dire needs for their position.
I did that too.
First one I got, and this was a guy that our guy Bruce has been obsessing over, and rightfully so, and that's Gray Zabel from North Dakota State University. Really, really strong reps, look great just all week long. Had a really good rep against Walter Nolan, who's projected to be a potential top 10 pick in the NFL draft. The last CBS mock draft I had him going at 11. First Senior Bowl guy off the list. Fun fact. Yeah, just look, he was playing. I believe he played a little bit of center here and there, but obviously mostly lined up at guard, and just brick wall, absolute brick wall. And for those who have ever watched a single Bears game this year, you know that the guard position was an absolute tire fire between Tevin Jenkins being injured, Ryan Bates being injured, Nate Davis being injured, sucking, and then getting cut. And then there's a couple of backups. I don't even remember some of the backups' names at this point that were thrown out there for the Bears. There's so many. So they need offensive linemen. They need guards in particulars, both sides. Obviously, we'll see what they do in free agency. They have been linked to Trey Smith and the Kansas City Chiefs, so maybe they take care of right guard there. But if they don't want to bring back Tevin Jenkins, Gray Zabel would be a great player to potentially put on that left guard spot. Next, edge rusher. They basically did whoever opposite of Montez Sweat by committee. It was DeMarcus Walker, Austin Booker, a little bit of Darrell Taylor, who they traded for at the end of the preseason. I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody else, but those are the main guys I remember out there on the edge. They need another talented edge rusher to go alongside Montez Sweat, and that is Princely Umanmielen from Ole Miss. What? Oh my god, bro! Oh my god, bro! Anyway, really, really strong player. A guy I got to talk to. Very, very confident in himself. He said he should have been the best edge rusher in this class because he's been one of the most productive. He did have 11 or 10 and a half sacks this year, but he did miss 2 games. At least that's what he said. So looks like a really, really strong player. And the Bears have already met with Princely, so there's already some potential connection there, taking him in the second round, which, again, need more pass rush. Need more pass rush because that was, outside of Montez Sweat and a couple other guys, it was a struggle most of the season. Next, speaking of pass rush, going to go, and this is a guy they could potentially use a top 10 pick on. You know, they have Gervon Dexter already at that 3 technique, but you never have too many interior pass rushers. That's Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss as well. Played first 2 years at Texas A&M. Was all right. Put up 4 sacks in his sophomore season with the Aggies. Then 6.5 sacks. The 14 tackles for loss in his junior year. All-American, along with 2 other guys who were here at the Senior Bowl. Just a phenomenally talented player. Plays the pass really well. Plays the run really well. There are some potentially shaky moments, as obviously all guys do when they adjust to the NFL, but talk about a just stud interior pass rusher and run defender, which, again, if you watch the Bears, especially after they lost Andrew Billings, the run defense was leaky, very leaky. Ben Johnson even talked about that at his introductory press conference. They said that he noticed that the Bears defense got a lot more leaky once Andrew Billings went out for the year, which he was right, because they sucked against the run a lot of the year, and it pisses me off. Next, we talked a lot about him already. I'm not going to spend a whole much more time on him, but he is a definite fit, and that is Keandre Jackson out of Illinois State. Don't know what's going on with Kevin Byard. He's an unrestricted free agent this year. I don't know if he potentially leaves for a team that's more ready to compete or if he decides to come back. He had a phenomenal season with the Bears. a marked improvement from how Eddie Jackson had played the last 2 or 3 years at that free safety spot. I know Jaquan Brisker's your strong safety, need more tackling guy, but I think Keandre Jackson has that perfect mix of coverage and tackling. Had almost 100 tackles his last year at ISU, 1.5 sacks, 4 fumbles, 3 interceptions, one of which was a pick six. I think I said 1.5 sacks. Just all-around defensive player and a really good guy in coverage on the back end that would be a nice and interesting pairing alongside Jaquan Brisker. And you know how much Ryan Poles loves his guys from the Illinois and Chicago area, like TJ Edwards, for one. And heck, if you even want to count Ben Johnson, because he's going to Cubs games for 10 years. So just adding more and more guys who love the city, which is can be a good thing or a bad thing. So I like that. And then I'll save my last one to piss Alec off the most. I have Pat Bryant too, kind of a later round guy. Keenan Allen's probably leaving for one of the LA teams this offseason. So having him as a potential third or fourth wide receiver in day 3 or late day 2, I think would be really great. And then, of course, one of my guys who I have been obsessing over since the start of this process and going to the Senior Bowl, that's Iowa State receiver Jaden Higgins. What?
There it is.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you just wait.
Oh boy! Did you just copy my whole list? Is that what's going on here?
No, I got my own list.
Okay, sure. I believe it when I see it. Mr. Reddit, before we go on. But yeah.
I've been in my head.
But Jaden Higgins, one of the best wide receivers who's been here all week. I got to interview him. I wrote a profile on him, so make sure to check those out on the YouTube and the website as well. I said it in a tweet after one of, I think it was an in route that he did. Dude just gets open. That's the biggest thing I saw out of him. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, and he just beats coverage. And obviously, you can only take so much away from one-on-one drills, but he looked great, even in the 7-on-7s and the 11-on-11s as well. So a guy that I think would be a great number 3 wide receiver. Maybe you sign another veteran and kind of teach those guys. Maybe, who knows, maybe Keenan Allen comes back and takes a step back and becomes another mentor guy. Who knows what they can do. But I think Jaden Higgins has a lot of untapped potential, and if they can get him somehow in the 3rd round, that would be ecstatic. I don't think he's going to last that long. So maybe with Carolina 2nd rounder, you take him, and then with your other second, you take Zabel or Princely. So they have options, but I would be ecstatic if Jaden Higgins ended up on the Bears.
All right. Okay, we'll save that one for later. We'll save that one for later.
Higgins.
Tez Johnson. I wish. I've been saying all week as a joke, Tez Johnson from Oregon, but you know he's not a Packer type fit, so I'll leave him out. But honorable mention, I wish.
Even with the TikTok routes.
Hey, bring the TikTok routes. I don't care. You got open. All right, so I approached it the same way as you, kind of pressed my needs. And honestly, I've even seen it in Daniel Jeremiah's mock that came out today. He had us taking the edge, Shamar Stewart, out of Texas A&M. That's the first guy I want to talk about. We had Lucas Van Ness and Brenton Cox Jr., so former first-round pick of ours, and then a UDFA, but the UDFA was getting more snaps on the other side of Rashawn Gary. And Gary led our team in sacks this year with 7. So we just need more production, and we need to get home. That was one of the main issues when you're watching all the Packer games. I'm sitting there going, get home. And if we got a sack, it was rare. So I think if we're not going to go out and get a big name like Max Crosby through trade, then we need to just bolster that and try to hit on a pick here. I hope the RAS doesn't come into effect because we already tried that with Van Ness. I'm not saying he can't be good, but it's taken too long.
Yeah.
And we're in the mode where we need to contend. So I think if you add Stewart, that's an instant day 1 starter opposite Rashawn Gary, and will help him be effective. For my second guy, this week, I don't know if there's been a higher riser in my head than Quincy Riley for us. I really have enjoyed watching him, and especially in the one-on-ones, just going up against all the good receivers here. We've already drafted a Louisville corner who's about the same height, about the same speed, plays about the same way, and Jerry Alexander. Huh?
Overpaid.
Yeah, for the amount of games he's playing.
That's
but
true.
speaking of which, I'm approaching this like Jair might not be on the team.
Mhm.
So you have to go out and get a corner that can slide in between Valentine and Nixon. And then Bullard's also been playing slot. But I think Quincy Riley fits that mentality that we need. And honestly, I haven't seen him get beat. Maybe one time this week by a guy I'll name in a bit again that we've been going back and forth about all week.
Yep.
Well, I'm looking at our wide receiver room on this next one. Jalen Royals just seems like a very Packer prototype receiver. Moves fluid in and out of his breaks. He's had pretty solid production, but he also went to Utah State, so it's like pair him with a team that is a young and developing wide receiver room, pending possible free agent additions or a trade for a vet who may or may not have been wearing green and gold shoes today. But we'll keep that out of it.
Mhm.
Anyway, I really like what Royals brings to the table, and I think we could get him in the later rounds as a value pick more so. So that's what we've been pretty good at, like grabbing Reed in the second, Wicks in the fourth, or in the fifth actually. So I'm just curious to see what kind of receivers we can pick down that far. My next one, I don't even need to look. I know it's Shamar James out of Florida, the linebacker.
Mhm.
We're losing McDuffie to free agency, and now with Heffley's 4-3 defense, we need someone else. I mean, we have Tyron Hopper out of Mizzou. He's going to probably slide in unless we take another linebacker, and I think Shamar James had the speed this week. I think he was, what, 5th overall or something?
I think he was.
He was in the top 10. I know he's in the top 10. He hit 20.72 miles an hour. So putting that speed alongside Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper, I think that'd be a very solid 3. And opposing teams should be scared to run the ball against that 3 because all 3 of them have speed and can crash down. And he showed off in coverage this week as well.
Yep.
So him and Cooper could be put in on passing down especially, and I could have full confidence in either one of them. And even Quay. But I'd say I had more confidence in the first 2.
Yeah.
Quay's our better run stopper. 5th, I mean, I already hit on this, my Kraft Fan and Cheese, but I had to put Harold Fannin in here. Hey, don't shake your head at me. Don't shake your head at me. Luke Musgrave's just been hurt. He was hurt all of last year. Not saying that him and Kraft can't get the job done, but if you can insert a guy who caught over 100 balls just in the 1 year this past year, why would you not insert him alongside Kraft and just see what can happen? Green Bay loves to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, and with Fannin working all around at fullback, open to X, open to tight end. I mean, well, obviously open to tight end, but in this group, I think he just pairs well with our team in the mentality of versatility. Goot loves his versatile guys, so it just makes sense. And then my honorable mention at 6, wide receiver out of Iowa State, Jaden Higgins. We've been going back and forth about this all week. And honestly, he is a very Packer prototype receiver as well.
Mhm.
He moves like he's 5'11", 190, but he's not. And the way he gets in and out of his breaks, he's able to get open. And I was explaining this to the guys yesterday, just how he, even in an 11-on-11 team, it's like he finds the open gap and he knows how to just get open. Like, there's not many receivers here. Don't get me wrong. They're good receivers here, but not many that understand they just sit in the gaps and get open. And he can't really teach that. So that's someone I would like to see us add. But either way, if you can get one of Higgins or Royals plus a bet, I think our wide receiver room should be really set at that point.
Yeah. And I want to put this on record. I want to know if you're okay with this. And this is only if they end up on one of our 2 teams. The other person has to get them that team's jersey of Jaden Higgins.
Ooh.
So if he ends up on the Packers, I will get you a Jaden Higgins Packers jersey. But if he ends up on the Bears, I'm getting the Bears Jaden Higgins jersey from you.
Okay.
Right?
I'd say that's fair.
Okay.
I'd say that's fair.
Okay.
We can do that. We can say that. We
Let's
can
say
do
got
that.
it.
We can do that. And you want to know what? He's probably going to end up in, like, Jacksonville. So you know what?
I'm not even mentioning him.
Or freaking Buffalo.
Yeah, he's going to end up somewhere, but hopefully it's one of the 2. But
that'd be fun.
green and gold would be better. So
Nah, I don't know
You
about
should end
Navy.
up
Navy
there.
Norton seems pretty good.
anyway,
Well, as we point out their deal, see what comes, see where Jaden Higgins goes. I'm going to point out a deal for you that everybody can enjoy, and that's home insurance with Erie Insurance by Jeffrey Tepney.
Erie Insurance says here's to the grown-ups who move, mortgage, mow, and still bust a move. But does your home insurance still fit? Erie helps you protect the home you've grown into, all at fair prices that are often less than the other guys. So how do you find the right coverage? Magic. Nope. Local independent agents who get to know you like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
And when you call Jeffrey Tepney at 704-464-4544, go ahead and ask him. Now, Jeffrey Tepney's a Packers fan, where Jaden Higgins belongs in the NFL.
yep.
But it's my turn to represent the city of New Orleans. Got my little Marshawn Lattimore jersey on, but you know I come prepared. I have my little notebook down here. I don't have a couple names written on the list because I just ain't like that, you know. So
I
I
don't
wrote,
know you have.
I
to
wrote
get
a
a
couple
-50.
notes down. Always do. And for me, last year, I will do an honorable mention first. And I told you this day one, I liked him, and that was Jeffrey Bossa. And if this was a top 5 need, in my opinion, I would put him on this list. But just because there's so many needs in New Orleans, it's terrible. I had to take him out. But last year, I wanted Jared Verse so bad in the first round. And it just didn't happen. He ended up balling out. He might even win Defensive Rookie of the Year. We'll see what happens.
Who did the Saints take in the first round? I can't remember.
Fuaga, but you hit on
Fuaga.
Fuaga.
Oh,
That's fine. It
Yeah,
was a
they
very
needed
good.
offensive line.
Fuaga was probably the best rookie left tackle, either him or J.C. Latham. So it was a fine hit. It was a very good pick. I was very happy after I saw it. I mean, I was upset that we could have either gotten Dallas Turner or someone like Jared Verse, who I wanted. But hindsight 2020, it was a great pick. So because of this, we need a refined edge rusher. This is something we need. And Jared Verse was the guy, but this year I'm looking at somebody a little bit different. Now, he came off a conference championship win, and that's Marshall's Mike Green. Now, this guy has been so good. He opted out yesterday or Wednesday or whatever. He opted out 2 days ago. He opted out. He said, look, I've proven all I can, and I'm going to let the film speak for itself. So Mike Green in 2024 had 81 total tackles, 17 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 passes deflected. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And because it doesn't get better than that, this is what the guy won in 2024. He was a first-team All-Sun Belt. He holds the Sun Belt single-season sack record. He won Sun Belt Player of the Year, and he's a first-team All-American. I mean, he beat every single player in the Sun Belt Conference and won that award. And if that doesn't speak to you, Mickey Loomis, I don't know what does, because he has looked electric. And Mike Green to New Orleans would not be a bad pick in the first round at number 9.
That's an all right list of accolades, I guess. You know,
Just a little bit.
it's all right.
Now, my number 2, we got to have a healthy receiver. You got Chris Olave out. You got Rashid Shaheed out. You trade A.T. Perry away because you think you're going to get Devonta Adams, so the number 17 is available. And then you got Dante Pettis playing at wide receiver 1 for you. And he gets 9 targets and only catches 1 pass. You got to have another receiver here. I'm not talking Jaden Higgins. I'm not talking old Utah State Jalen Royals. I'm not talking whoever you mentioned earlier. I can't remember.
I had Pat Bryant and
Pat
Josh
Bryant,
Johnson.
that's right. I'm looking at Jack Beck. This guy has
a
had
good
some
pick, too.
contested catches. And look, I don't know if y'all know this. 2021 and 2022, Jack Beck was at wide receiver U. He was at LSU. And it doesn't get better than the LSU wide receiver. Now, his 2024 stats for TCU, he's now at TCU 23 and 24. He had 62 receptions, just over 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He was second team All Big 12 this year. And for a guy like Jack Beck, across from Olave, of course, you have Shaheed playing slot. I think that's going to be a really good combination. And if you want the quarterback situation, if you try to say, hey, we're going to put Rattler in position to succeed in New Orleans, I think this is a really good pick to kind of have that success and gain what Rattler needs to be an NFL starter. So my number 3, and this is very important to me. I mean, these top 3 ones are super important to me. We need a hard-nosed safety, and you just don't have that in New Orleans right now. You're really missing. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu is about on his deathbed, and you really don't have anybody to compliment him.
What's
You
wrong
just
with the
don't
Honey
have.
Badger?
He's just getting old, man. He's getting old. You don't have anybody to compliment him, and it's just getting there. So you got to have somebody that is just hard-nosed and plays like a Malcolm Jenkins like you had before. You got to bring that back, and I think the perfect person here is Jonas Sanker out of Virginia. Now, his 2024 stats were great to me. I mean, he came down. He had 98 total tackles. He had 2 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, a pick, and 4 passes deflected. It's not like the number 1 safety. This isn't like a Kyle Hamilton type prospect.
Right.
But this is a guy the Saints could steal maybe in the 3rd, 4th round, and you could get a hard-nosed safety that you had before in New Orleans. Maybe a successor for Tyrann Mathieu whenever he gets older and he's ready to hang the boots up. You got to have somebody there in New Orleans. Jonas Sanker's the guy. So for my 4th, they love utility players in New Orleans. You know this.
I'm surprised considering they paid Taysom Hill $17 million.
Yes. With Taysom Hill, as much money as he's making, I don't know how much of that Mormon youthfulness he has left in his body.
Mormon youthful.
He's gonna slow down eventually. And you said it earlier. I think the perfect guy to replace him is Harold Fannin Jr. And this is why. He talks about, hey, Harold Fannin, he's open to play in the X, he's open to play in the slot, he's open to play tight end, he's open to play in the backfield. Before we got here, I told you I want to see Harold Fannin in the backfield. And guess what they did? They put him in the backfield because Harold Fannin said he wants to get better at blocking. He was playing fullback. Who plays fullback? Who plays tight end? Who plays in the slot? Heck, Harold Fannin can play quarterback if he wants to. I don't care. This is a perfect Taysom Hill successor. And you get Harold Fannin, you make him the Taysom Hill successor. Look, his Bowling Green stats were fantastic this year. I mean, he's probably, I ain't going to say probably, he was. 117 receptions for 1,555 yards. He had 10 touchdowns, and then he averaged 7.2 yards per carry on 9 carries, and then he had a touchdown on the ground, which that just kind of shows lining up in the backfield, he might bring a little bit of success once that comes.
I have to note that Jack Gaffney has said, don't you ever compare that jabroni to Harold Fannin ever again. All caps, he's mad at you.
Thank you, Jack. I've been saying.
Well, let me tell you what Harold Fannin can bring to the table. He not only got first-team All-MAC in 2024, he got it in 2023. He was the 2024 68 Ventures Bowl MVP. He was the MAC Offensive Player of the Year, as well as the MAC Most Valuable Player this year, and he was a consensus All-American. Now, I couldn't write all this down, but I have a screenshot on my phone of all the records he held from this past season. And I'm going to share them right now because this is way too good not to share. Harold Fannin, he has the most receiving yards by a tight end in a season. He has the most receptions by a tight end in a season. He has the most receiving yards per game by a tight end in a season. The most receptions per game. He's got the most receiving yards in a bowl game by a tight end. The most receptions in a bowl game by a tight end. And he tied the most receptions in a game by a tight end when he got that Ventures Bowl MVP.
Sounds pretty good.
Now, if there's not a single person that could replace Taysom Hill, it's Harold Fannin Jr. If you get rid of Taysom Hill, this is the guy you bring to the table. Say, hey, we're going to use you just like we did Taysom. And you find success that way. When Taysom was hurt, you kind of saw that offense struggle a little bit. Mm-hmm. They didn't have somebody that could open up the offense like Taysom Hill does. Harold Fannin is the guy that can do that. So you bring him in to New Orleans. We'll see what happens. And I think the last spot, you need an O-lineman regardless. I mean, a guard, center, tackle, you need it. But for me, I got to thinking. I said, hey, do I want a guard? Do I want a center? The perfect person to have in New Orleans is a complement to Fuaga on the right side of that line. I want a right tackle. I want somebody that can protect Rattler if he's the quarterback a little bit better because he'll find a little bit more success. Rattler could probably get away from a D tackle if an interior guard or interior lineman kind of slips up. But once those edges and ends kind of collapse, it's a lot harder to kind of escape that pocket and escape the sack. So I want somebody that can perfectly complement Fuaga. And I got to looking, and the guy that I probably want the Saints to take is Emory Jones at LSU. Now, he only had 1 sack allowed this season. He had 4 QB hits and 23 QB hurries, and he won the 23 and 24 second team All-SEC. If you're going to pick a guy to complement Fuaga, it's going to be Emory Jones. He's got the size. He's got the experience. I mean, it's not easy playing against those SEC D linemen. It's not easy. I mean, we're seeing it today in the Senior Bowl of how well SEC D linemen have been performing. And I know we talk about SEC versus Big Ten. I'm not trying to make an argument. I'm just saying, these guys are good at what they do. And when you have somebody like Emory Jones, you could name countless SEC linemen that start in the NFL because that's the competition they've had to go against in their career. Emory Jones is the perfect complement to Fuaga, and that's who I want to see on New Orleans' own line. That's all I got.
There you go. You want to hop in there, Mr. Producer?
All right.
Jake's fan.
The honorary Jags fans here. I'm going to start with my honorable mention. David Walker, the edge out of Central Arkansas. He had himself a really solid week. He was one of those SCS guys not a lot of people knew about. He's somebody that I would personally love to have sit behind Joshua Hines Allen for a couple years. Right now, Miles Cole, 6th-rounder out of A&M, is there, but he's not that good. And David Walker has more of these raw skills that having a mentor like a Joshua Hines Allen or even a Trevon Walker could do him very, very well. But I'm expecting that if they're going to take someone on that D line, take a more 2-tech D tackle than somebody like an edge. That's why we have him as an honorable mention. But best believe he looked good.
Never have too many edge
Exactly.
especially in a rotation.
Exactly. And they run a base 4. We run a base 4-3. So we need a lot of people up front.
Yep.
My number 5 guy, we got a linebacker. As much as I was thinking my personal guy, Chris Lindbergh, even Jeffrey Bossa, I gotta go with Nick Martin, linebacker out of Oklahoma State. Outside of Devin Lloyd and Foyesade Alukan, and I guess Chad Muma is really good depth as our 2. We don't really have anybody good in the slot, and that's where I'm wanting a Nick Martin to play. Ventrell Miller was very mid last year. Yasir Abdullah, he can leave, honestly. Devin Lloyd in the middle linebacker spot doesn't really have good depth behind him, and this is somebody that we could get in that 5th to 6th round who has the college experience, and he's someone that worst case scenario as a rotational piece for a late round guy, special teams, someone who can learn from Devin Lloyd in particular, could have a lot of value for this team. Will it happen? I don't know. These are all just fever dreams.
So you're saying you want to play sub linebacker?
I would love some sub linebacker. I would love some middle linebacker. I don't think he'll play much wide.
Maybe like a 3rd down back.
Exactly. That's what that's at least for year 1. That's what I would want. But I would hope he would develop into either consistent and every at least a 2 or 3 down, a 3 down guy ideally. Someone who can be behind Devin Lloyd or Foyesade if he needs to play the wide, or hopefully can start instead of Ventrell Miller. My number 4, Trevor Lawrence needs help up front. Trevor Lawrence needs a lot of help up front. And as much as I love Miles Frazier and what he did this week, and I'm knowing that Jacksonville loves their LSU guys as they took Mason Smith and Jordan Jefferson off the D-line last year, I think they go different routes, and they go take Anthony Belton, offensive tackle out of North Carolina State, NC State. He's someone this week who he wasn't the flashiest, but then again, not a lot of these O-linemen this year outside of Gray Zabel, honestly, were not flashy. But he's somebody who has raised his jocks off a bit, who's good in the run. Iffy on the pass block, but that's something that they can be developed. And also, for those who aren't aware, we got a whole lot of nobodies on the offensive line. Brandon Scherer's getting old. He's going to retire in a year. Mitch Morse is okay. Walker Little, he's great. He's our future at left tackle, but outside of him and Ursa Cleveland, they don't got a whole lot on that line. Anthony Harrison's all right, but this is somebody who can slot in, can play the tackle, can play and can play the guard. He wouldn't start. He would be a depth piece at first. He would also join your buddy Javon Foster
My boy.
in Duval County. But we need
The
depth.
purple carrots are on the way.
I like that. But hey, we saw the truck today. It was fine. We did see the truck. We need someone on the O-line. I wouldn't be shocked if we double dip in O-lineman, but I would not be opposed to Anthony Belton there. My number 3, we're gonna go loot to D tackle. I want Anais Pebbles, defensive tackle out of Virginia Tech there. He's someone who I would Pebbles. I know. I can't say names. Sorry, guys. Full accountability.
He's so funny.
So that's literally the first thing I was mentioned. Is he's first off because we need a culture reset. That's why we got the new head coach. That's why Balky is, thank God, out of there. I know some people listening are not happy about that, but it's a good thing he's out of there. He's a perfect vibes guy and somebody who can learn behind Eric Armstead and Devon Hamilton and can get developed into a consistent two-tech guy with the ability that I don't think they would run him off the edge at all. They don't really have any reason to, but he's someone who could blow up the running game. He's somebody who could – the stats wouldn't be flashy, but with him on that field and the impact that he would have with that defensive core is something that you can't really teach. And worst case scenario, just imagine after every win, he worms on everybody's 50-yard line. Just imagine that. For the culture, you want that.
Oh, yeah, and I think he could definitely be – he's athletic enough to where if they want to play wider –
He can play wider.
He can not only he can play wider like on the edge or something, but he can also be fast enough to run stunts in a wider sense.
His build, he showed us this week that he can move. And that's something that a lot of people were like iffy on. They're like, all right, how is he going to look with like Virginia Tech wasn't that good of a football team. Hate to break it to y'all. He actually had good competition. He did struggle a bit. These last two are honestly my favorite too. So I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to pick people who y'all weren't gonna pick, and I had Quincy Riley originally as my DB who I wanted. And then I thought a little bit more. And also you took it, but that's why I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
You also know he's going to be wearing green and gold.
Okay, here we go. I'm looking at our DBs. They got hurt last year.
Black toast.
Worse than if there's worse than black toast. Worse than black toast. This is by
Smoldering toast.
one of the worst defensive.
Kitchen is on fire.
One of the worst cores I've seen. And this guy by the name of Darian Porter, quarterback at Iowa State, I think could be a very good compliment.
That's a good pick.
Yep.
We need speed. Speed wins this game. We need guys who will play day in, day out. And as someone this week who's had the max acceleration almost all week and the max miles per hour, you can't teach that. And frankly enough, him and Tyson Campbell on either side is something I like a lot more. Monteric Brown, you're solid. You would start from the get-go, but this is somebody who will be drafted with the hopes of you are going to be the starter. Give you a year as the reserve at the second cornerback, because frankly enough, him or DeAndre Prince, I'm taking Porter 9 times out of 10.
Yep.
And even and also being able to learn from Campbell and even Ronald Darby.
Ronald Darby had some good years with Denver.
Yeah, he didn't have a good year last year, but then again, nobody on that defensive DB, none of those DBs.
Old. He's been in the league. He was part of the Peyton Manning Super Bowl winning Broncos.
Yeah.
That was a long time.
Nobody had a good year, and we more or less need a corner more than we need a free safety or nickel back, because Darnell Savage is still there. We signed him to the long-term deal. He's going to be there, and we drafted Ryan Jones last year, who didn't have the prettiest year, but I mean, Terry Arnold got drafted higher than him, and Terry Arnold looked a lot worse. And he's actually going to be able to start this year, which is something I like. However, another honorable mention, I would love Maxon Hook, safety out of Toledo, to get into that system. He's a perfect, Andrew Wingard 2.0, but I just don't see that happening. Now we go to my last pick, which this is where everybody would be like, oh, Jane Higgins, oh, Tez Johnson. But I don't see that being a fit for what Jacksonville needs a wide receiver. I'm going with Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver out of Miami. We need a slot guy. We have Brian Thomas on the side. We have Christian Kirk, and we have Evan Ingram on the other side. We don't really have a good slot guy. And we had a receiver core that was, frankly enough, injured. Gabe Davis, we don't know if he's going to come when he comes back. Christian Kirk, he's going to start. He's one of our captains. But Parker Washington, Denver Duvernay, Tim Jones, Joshua Surface, Josh Reynolds, like those aren't names that you look at and go, oh, for a team that is going to try to contend sooner rather than later, these aren't great names. Restrepo brings speed that can complement BTJ into the fact of this gives Lawrence another weapon. This gives Lawrence in particular another deep ball weapon, which is where he's going to excel this year. More speed the merrier. Don't get me wrong. Tez Johnson, Jaden Higgins, you would look great. You would look great having Trevor Lawrence as your quarterback, but that's just not realistic. So that's what I have.
Perfect. Did we run another ad? And
I think so.
Run
We gotta
it
get
back?
that ad money, right?
Okay.
Well,
Y'all know what time it is. Time for the best car insurance ad in all podcast history.
Here's to the grown-ups. Your car is now your office, stage, nursery. Shh, sorry. Erie Insurance offers products that lots of other companies don't. That's a big deal, and it's a good deal too. And with Erie, you get your own independent agent, not a giant corporate call center or some online robot. You meet with a real person, like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
and when you contact our guy Jeff Fortepney at 704-464-4544, let him know that Third Down Thursdays sent you, that we sent you here from Mobile, and that Jeff's probably a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe.
Hell yeah!
I think we could all agree to that.
Let's talk
I think
about
that's the first comparison we've done with Jeff this entire time we've been here. So
if he
Shout out
can
to Jeff.
do one pass out of 8, I think he already beat him. So
hey, all he has to do is hit one deep ball and hit 3 passes short. What's up, Connor?
oh hey man,
Hey, Connor.
I had to pee. Sorry, guys. Okay. Well, let me get my phone out because this is a very important. And I told you we were having a special segment in the show. Let me take a sip of water.
We don't need you to get more.
I was gonna
fuel.
say you just got out of it.
Man, I have been holding that since I don't even know.
Just get into the tier list.
Let's get it out.
So,
How's it going?
because of our experience in a certain restaurant that shall not be named that I explained yesterday on Third Down Thursdays, I decided to make a tier list out of all of our kind of experiences eating in Mobile. And Cy has banners for each of them. We will pop them up. So there's certain places me and Cy went to. There's certain places they went to. And so we're going to kind of like go through the tier list, tell y'all what happened with each, and then end it with the number one, the GOAT. That's why he's a GOAT. That's why he's the MVP. The GOAT. There should be a sound for that.
Yo, we'll get the sound when it's needed. Come on now.
All right.
Come on now.
So, before we start the list, I would like to have an honorable mention. Cy and I went to Arby's. Because we just have to. It's a tradition, and Arby's just hits so hard. And so, these weren't technically servers, but they were Arby's workers. And so, we had to put them up there. So, the honorable mention goes to the two loud Arby's sisters that were kind of arguing and making a lot of stuff. I mean, it was just like, if there was a lot of people there, it'd probably be unenjoyable. But I was like thrilled to have these. I mean, if there aren't two sisters yelling in the Arby's, you don't get that Arby's experience. Which leads me to number 9. So we actually start the list, and this was by far the worst. I mean, might be the worst server I've ever had in my life. It was like, oof. Lady forgot her appetizer. And we have not had very good luck on appetizers.
No,
this
we're
week.
0 for 2.
We are 0 for 2.
We can't
We'll
get an
explain the
appetizer.
second one earlier. or later, excuse me. But the Bazooki Promiser comes in at number 9. The lady that gave me my food to go. I didn't even get to eat it fresh. I had to wait till we got to the hotel. The Bazooki hit. But oh my gosh, I didn't get my food the whole time we were there, and then we had to leave. I mean, it was just awful. She forgot our appetizer. She didn't really come for refills. I mean, she came every blue moon.
Every half an hour on average, if it was a good turn.
I swear the second coming was about to happen before she came back to our table.
Yeah, it might have been the worst serve I've ever had in my life, whether it's here or up in Wisconsin. It was bad. It was bad.
Bazooki Promiser is dead last. At number 8, now, me and Cy went to Arby's. We had our little Arby's date. But these two had a date. They walked all the way from Arby's to Chipotle. It was about, a 10-minute walk?
10 to 15 minutes.
10 to 15 minutes.
About a mile.
Well, they can explain their experience. But at number 8, we have the Chipotle rushers themselves. What happened at Chipotle, guys?
I think you got the better context of it than I did.
I mean, okay, so we're sitting there. You had already gotten your food.
Yeah.
I go through. It took them a minute because they had 5 workers. Only one person was making all the bowls. I don't know what the other 4 were doing. The one making the bowls was also checking people out. So that was awful at its first part because we already were waiting a while, or at least I was. And then we got through, and I wanted chips. Again, chips problem. We can't get chips down here for whatever reason. He got chips. I didn't because they were like, well, we're going to have to make a new one. The guy behind me got chips. So I was like, and it was from the other worker. So I was like, she just didn't want to give me chips. That's whatever. So then we're sitting there eating, about 20 minutes to close, and they asked us to leave. And we were like, what? I thought you closed at 10. And they're like, no, we're going to close right in about 5 to 10 minutes here, but you're going to need to leave. And we're like, okay. So they just wanted to close early, and we got booted out. So, I mean, it wasn't as bad as not getting your food for 2 hours, but it was right there. 2 hours.
That's why this is number 8. I mean, it was right. It's not as close to the Bazooki
wasn't
Promiser.
one of the workers significant others sitting out in the car waiting for food and stuff.
Yeah,
that's why she wanted to leave.
Well, yeah, the ones. We assumed it was her boyfriend. You could kind of tell. Came through, got his own food for free, and it was quick service for him, but not for us. So
yeah,
it was just.
And they're out of brown rice, which I usually get, which made me sad. But
right. I mean, overall good.
Yeah,
but there's 20 minutes till close, and it's Chipotle. We would have eaten it by then. We would have eaten it by 10 minutes to close, and they kicked us out. So, yeah.
Well, Jackson has vegan priority at Chipotle, which is why he got chips and Alec didn't. But when it comes to finding places for a vegan, it's sometimes very limiting. So, for supper last night, we decided, hey, we're going to go to Olive Garden. Okay, this is the place to go to Olive Garden. And we go in there, and they're all feeling bad because they're like, oh, they close in 15 minutes. We don't want to stay here. But when we go in there, a guy was like, oh, are y'all going to dine in? And we're like, yeah. They're like, okay. And then they're like, oh, we're going to take it to go. And then eventually we're just like, no, we're going to leave. And we're just going to go somewhere else because they're about to close. But at number 7 is the Olive Garden Big Back. The guy that asked the question, he's at number 7. This made the tier list. He had to make the tier list. He wasn't as bad as the Bazooki Promiser or the Chipotle Rushers, but he makes it in at number 7 because he asked that question. So there was a little bit of server tier list significance to put him on the tier list. So he is at number 7. But when we left, we went to B-Dubs and accidentally drove on the wrong side of the road. So
there it is.
There is that.
Right hand up accountability.
Left hand up accountability.
I wonder who was driving.
I wonder who was driving.
Yeah. I redeemed myself today, though. But no.
Was it me?
Hey, we're all alive though.
Yes.
So that was number 7. We decided to go to B-Dubs, and of course, when you go to B-Dubs, there's always a server there. And we had a server, and she forgot our appetizer again.
Like just no chips and guac, no chips and salsa.
We just can't get chips down here. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
There must be
there's a chip shortage.
There's a shortage or something. I mean, I don't understand it.
You think they'd remember the appetizer because it only goes more into their tip. But
exactly.
No one remembers it around here.
I mean, it's not a priority to them. When it's late at night, they just want to get the stuff done. But
they didn't get it done.
She's lucky she had looks to make up for it because at number 6 is the B-Dubs baddie. Thank you, Si. She was number 6. She makes it above the Olive Garden Big Back simply because of how she looked. And
Wow.
she did forget the appetizer, but I will say I had my drink refilled, and she was nice. And she pointed out that I had wet wipes right beside me when I did not know, and I had a whole 10 thing of honey barbecue wings, so I was getting messy with Nate Nessie. So that goes at number 6 was the B-Dubs baddie.
6.
And so we get to the top. Oh my gosh, you're saying that's number 6 like she's bad, but the top 5 are goated. Trust me.
Hey, I'm gonna hear out the top 5.
Are
I'm gonna hear out the
goated.
top 5.
So obviously we've been to a place twice, and that is Jason's Deli. It's a little bit more catering to our vegan friend over here. So we go to Jason's Deli. It's enjoyable for all of us. But the first time we went, I wanted to decide how I wanted to eat this time. You know, I usually get certain things from a deli, but I wanted to try something different. So I'm always looking for a deal, and I saw this nice little muffaletta manager special. It comes with chips and a soup. And I'm like, oh, what soups do you have? And she's like, oh, we have a chicken pot pie soup. And I said, you said it already. That's your favorite, so get it for me. So at number 5, we have the red-haired pot pie soup shawty to break in the top 5 of the list at Jason's Deli. But Jason's Deli does not stop there. Because the first time we went,
Yes.
Love Jason's Deli. Shout out Jason's Deli.
shout out Jason's Deli.
Sponsor us.
We had
Yes.
a lady come get our food first time. Also took our order the second time and brought our food the second time. Except I think the panini was some other guy that had picked it up. But
Yeah, I got the short straw.
yeah, you got the short
She
straw.
was very
But
nice.
at number 4, because she has kind of this precedence, if I might add, at Jason's Deli, it's a little deli Bahama Mama. This is at number 4. She was doing all sorts of stuff. First time we went, she was counting inventory for the salad bar. I mean, she was doing it all. She took our order. She brought our food. I mean, is there any more great I can say about the little deli Bahama Mama?
She's the Jason's Deli Taysom Hill.
Mm.
You hear me? You hear me?
Mm.
Doing it all for them. Absolutely everything.
Now, remind me, I thought I asked her, why is she called Bahama Mama? I forgot.
I don't know. I just called her Little Mama when she walked up. So
Okay.
I just had to add deli in there. Yeah, I did. So, you know, that's why her name is Little
Okay.
Deli
I
Bahama
didn't
Mama.
know if there was a significance. to
No,
that, like-
no, I just called her that because all these people have to have a nickname because the GOAT name has to stand by itself.
Yes.
So we'll get
Yeah.
there at number 1. But our Jason's Deli experience was fantastic. We love
Yes.
Jason's Deli. But at number 3, today we actually went back to Olive Garden because it's a nice place to eat and it caters to our vegan friend over here. So
And we went 8 hours before they closed.
yes, well before they closed.
Gave them time to cook it today.
But the food wasn't that great to me. I mean, I could have food better at home, but you know, it was a lunch special. It wasn't super expensive like all the money I've been spending on food this whole week. But we get another server. And at number 3, our Olive Garden server for today is Miss Haley B. Now, as she was taking Jackson's order, I made sure to squint at her name tag so I could write this down for the server tier list. She was great. There's not much I can say. I mean, I kind of ran out of refills a couple times. She was a little slow, but where they sat us, I understand. That's why she made it over the little deli Bahama Mama because she was great. Other than that, I mean, we were in the very back in a corner, so it's easy to be
Which was
neglected.
probably for the best for the 4 of us.
Yeah.
Well, the 3 of you.
What?
He
You're
doesn't
throwing
know.
right in there.
He doesn't associate.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah,
We didn't do
Okay,
nothing wrong.
more so for the 3 of you. I
We
ain't
did
involved,
nothing
but
wrong, then, boy.
You know how he throws us under the bus, but he's right there with us, man.
He is, bro. He be making the same jokes we do.
Yeah.
But what we do is a problem.
But we're on stream and he acts like dad, man. Oh.
Yeah, he is dad. He's on, bro. He's just on.
95% of the time I'm
Anyway.
Well, that was our number 3. So our number 2. This is by far the number 2. I mean, there's nobody that reaches number 2 besides her.
This is the number 2.
This is number 2. Cy and I went to Arby's, and I was like, man, I need some caffeine because I'm going to be up all night doing these dang interviews for the Senior Bowl. So I need some caffeine. So I was like, hey, I want this meal, but I want a water to go with it because I want a Jamocha shake for the caffeine and a little bit of sweetness I get after my meal. But can you make it when I'm done eating? And right away, I didn't get no lip. It was, yes, sir, I got you. So at number 2 is Big D Denise, baby. Big D Denise gets number 2. She was goated. Anytime I was up there at the counter waiting, she came right then and there. I didn't have to wait for anything. When I wanted my shake, I come up, I look down at my phone because I'm thinking, oh, she's going to take a minute. She's probably busy. She's working the drive-thru. And I look up, and Denise, Big D Denise appears. She said, you want that shake? I said, yes, ma'am. Get me that Jamocha. And boom, Big D Denise was born, and she makes number 2 on the list.
I wish we got to experience that,
You
man.
should have experienced Big D
Big
Denise.
D Denise, man.
She was.
Sounds way better than getting kicked out of Chipotle 20 minutes early.
You
That's what
should
I'm
have
gonna say.
stayed. You should have stayed, but you were trying to watch your calories like a big boy, and you went to Chipotle.
Hey, man, Chipotle was good.
You know, honestly, we could have walked back over and got it to go. It's all right.
Then you wouldn't have gotten kicked out.
I was gonna say, we
wouldn't have had
technically
put
got
the
it to go
Chipotle on.
anyway.
Oh, that's true.
We technically did get it to
On
go.
the side of the road. I don't know what you expected.
Yeah, we got
literally
picked up.
them up on the side of the road because I was like, "Oh, we're done. Let's go pick them up." And they're walking on the sidewalk, and I'm going, bum 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 bum, to make sure
And-
they see me. Did y'all even see me when y'all walked up? Did y'all know that was
not
us?
Eventually, yeah. Hey, at least you're on the right side of the road this time.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was before he got on the wrong side of the
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
At least
that
he
was
was on the
He ran
right
the curve
side.
that night. He ran the curve on the way home.
Oh,
that
that's
night.
right. That's right.
It's not like I couldn't see. I had my glasses on,
You said you couldn't see.
but like I wasn't paying attention. You know, I was
That's
looking
not a
down.
good thing to say.
But-
Yeah, let's just say we have a questionable driver here. I don't know
I
how he
never,
passed.
I just never,
Just one more
I
time
never
to
look at my
really
phone
save
when I
yourself.
drive. I never look at my phone when I drive, and I had to get directions.
because
And
you didn't.
I
ask
probably
us for
should have asked. I
directions.
probably should have asked. I'm not trying to make excuses. This is my fault. I got it.
Okay.
All right,
there we
let's
go.
move on to number 1.
To the
So
go.
number 1, Sai. Can you cue the music?
Wait, we have it ready.
Go for it.
You want the band or do you want the sound first?
Sound first.
The sound. I don't do the venue. This is suspense.
That's why
This has
he's
to be
anything.
suspense.
That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
I played the sound. Y'all do
Okay, done. Okay,
Well,
I didn't
you
know
gotta
what
make
I
it
can't
sound
hear
great.
it. I can't hear it. I gotta make
That's
sure
why
it's
he's
playing.
the
It
GOAT.
played, actually.
But let me tell you something. This is why she's the GOAT. The first night here, after we had our freaking room fiasco, we moved everything from the 3rd floor down to the 2nd. Alec waited hours in an airport and got picked up. Sai went to the
Struggled.
wrong airport. Alec got picked up at a different one.
Wait, 25 minutes.
We have been so hungry, and there was only a handful
You
of
had to do
places.
schoolwork. What are you talking about?
I did have to do schoolwork before midnight, so we had to wait before that because school's more important. But it was almost midnight, and there's only a handful of places that are open 24 hours. And I'm not a big breakfast guy myself. If I want breakfast, I want it in the morning. I don't really care to eat it for supper or whatever. But they said, hey, let's go to the International House of Pancakes. Let's go to IHOP. And I'm like, okay, I don't really care. If I'm hungry, I'm hungry. I'm not that picky. So we sit down. It's my first impression of Alex. First time I meet Alec, and it's his first impression of me. Probably didn't think I was this energetic. But we meet. We have our nice little conversation. And let me tell you, the number 1 on this list, the GOAT, the woman, Leslie is number 1 on the server tier list. We come over. Leslie not only gives us refills, she not only gives us drinks to go, she gives us free pancakes. I mean, she
2
walks
sacks
it
of
out.
free pancakes.
2 sacks. She makes sure she has that butter. She makes sure she has that syrup. Anything we needed or wanted was already in the bag. We did not have to ask Leslie for anything because she was such a GOAT. She had it going on like Donkey Kong.
Ooh.
The second glass of water hit empty, Leslie's right there with the pitcher. Right there with the pitcher.
I swear, she don't ever let them miles get to 0 on an
Never.
empty tank. She makes
I
it
didn't,
stay
I didn't
up.
want pancakes. She said, I got them already good to go for it. No, you're not going to eat them. I was like, oh my
I
God.
forgot about that. Sai said he wants his pancakes. He's probably not going to eat them. He didn't ask for them to go. He was going to take them and then probably put them in a box. Leslie overheard it. She heard that. She got supersonic hearing. She's a super woman. And she said, hey, they're already in a to-go box, sweetie. Man, saying, Leslie. She can't get any better than
And
this.
hear me out. I got the burger, right? I said I wanted pancakes. You wanna know what she did? Showed up with another bag of pancakes.
Another bag
of pancakes.
For free.
For free.
For free.
For free.
Leslie's
the goat.
freaking goat. Jackson, you got to talk about Leslie. Come on, it just can't be us.
No, she was absolutely fantastic. Like, obviously,
The goat.
yeah, there's nothing. You guys put it perfectly. There's nothing much else I can say about Leslie. Shout out to Leslie for real. She made one of the few times I've ever been to an Have Up just because of my diet. It was a really good experience. So shout out to Leslie.
And who would have thought on an IHOP at 12:30 that we would have witnessed greatness?
I know and she was
Greatness.
probably tired. She had probably been there for a minute already.
Probably like 7 or 8 hours.
That type of
I
service
know.
at 12:30 a.m.
Yeah,
a.m.
She's such a
I think we
goat,
were there
bro.
until almost 1. Right?
We were there till about 1.
She is. We had the opposite side of the spectrum on the
Oh.
servers. We go from Leslie all the way down to the Pazuki Promiser.
Even water to go.
Yes,
You forgot the
Oh,
water to
yeah.
go. She asked if we wanted water in to-go cups because she wanted us hydrated on the road. She just cared about everything, man.
She
Yeah.
made sure all our boxes were checked.
Yeah.
She was such a goat, man.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I just want to say this as a disclaimer for if somehow one of you are watching this and who are lower on the list, we realize how hard your job is. Some days are better than others. This is not to say you're bad people, just that we did not have the greatest experience.
Unless you were number 9.
Unless you remember. This did not go to you. The Pazuki was slapping,
Nothing else was.
but nothing else was.
I still want chips and guac.
Yeah, we still want our appetizer. We still don't have it.
We should go to like a Mexican place and make sure we get chips.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. We probably should. There's a La Cocina down the road. We could probably pull up.
Yeah.
And then they got the fajitas and stuff. You could probably have.
Yeah.
Some
I'll take a
little
look.
veggie
We'll look.
fajitas.
We'll look.
Man, we might have to check that out tonight. But, ladies and gentlemen, this will probably end it for tonight. We wanted to get that server tier list out there because this is our last show in Mobile. Because tomorrow will be for the game. We'll probably take a couple more interviews. But keep a lookout on the YouTube. I'm posting interviews all the time.
Hardest working man in Mobile right
I mean,
now.
freaking Sai said he had about 30. He was right. I have probably put about 30 thumbnails.
He was right.
on there, and I'm still not finished. So after we get done with this, I'm
Job's not
popping the
finished.
computer out, putting some interviews for the next couple hours, going to eat, coming back, finishing the interviews for the day, and then doing the interviews for tomorrow as well. I'll probably be up late, but luckily we don't have to leave the hotel till 11, so I'll get a little bit more sleep than I usually do. If you enjoyed this, we will probably most definitely be back next year. Keep a lookout for the Senior Bowl stuff. There's a playlist. I will link it in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. It has all our interviews. Everything Senior Bowl related is in that playlist. Go ahead and watch it. Check it out. If you're looking for a player to go on a team, one of those interviews would be pretty advantageous for you to watch.
Yep.
I mean, if you're looking for fits, if you're looking for personality, go watch them. It could be the next player on your favorite team. We don't know.
Yeah.
So until you check them out, until you get that opinion on those players, we have them up for you guys.
We got quarterbacks to long snappers. So whatever your heart is. Amen. For whatever you're looking for, we got everything from quarterbacks to long snappers and everything in between.
These are not only posted on YouTube, they're posted on all socials. All socials are already down below in the description if you're watching live. That's Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I mean, it's all of them. I got them all of them down below. I already do that every live stream, so they're down below. Please, 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 we appreciate your support. Continue to support us because next year we're trying to hit a record every single year at the Senior Bowl. Our goal is obtainable. The only way we can obtain it is with your support. So we appreciate it. We will be back next week on our regularly scheduled live streams. It's been a pleasure, guys. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end off the show?
No, I'm just incredibly happy that I've gotten to share this experience with you guys and get to meet Alec for the first time being here. Last year's group was great. I just think this group was just as, if not more, exceptional than it was last year. So.
More exceptional. Man,
I agree.
Use the professional terms on it.
I agree.
I just want to say I'm thankful to meet all of you guys this week. It's been a blast. I mean, I hope to return next year with you guys. It'd be super fun, but I've just enjoyed this experience. I'm grateful to be here. So,
Sai?
You gotta say something for me. You gotta go on.
I've said a lot. I've already said a
All
lot.
right. Well,
Chilling.
you already know that I'm always super grateful to be down here, especially with you guys. It's been like y'all said, it's been a good week. It's been a tiring week. Y'all got some sun, but we've all got to talk to a lot of people, and we've all got to do what we do best. And now we got one last night. Go get some good food. Go do a little bit more work. And we got a game that we got to go to tomorrow. So it's just thank you guys all for the support. For the ones who are, the ones who are tuned in, the ones who tuned in a couple months and see these interviews and goes, oh, y'all had it first? Dang, should have been tapped in.
Mm-hmm.
We see the love, we see the support, we see the views, and we thank y'all.
Thank you guys.
Please
Thank you.
continue watching. I'm pumping out videos like freaking Leslie with pancakes, baby. Keep watching the YouTube. We're having it every hour today. Probably a couple more tomorrow. I'll post all I can, every video I can. Watch it. It's there. It's free. Subscribing is also free. Please feel free to subscribe.
Follow us all on the socials, whether it's the TDT accounts or our personal accounts across all social media.
Did you want to plug yours quick?
Twitter is JGrossBucks. Instagram is JacksonTY314.
I'll just throw my X out there. Alec_332.
I don't need to plug anything.
No plug?
I'm good.
No
I don't
plug?
need to plug anything. They hear my plugs every week.
I'm a humble, chill guy. I'm on the show every week.
Oh, hey.
I get
Connor
this
and I,
experience.
we do this.
I get
We
this
don't do
experience. So I'm thankful, grateful for all of you. We've had a great time in Mobile, especially distraction from school. We'll be back. We appreciate you all for watching, but we're going to end off this Super Senior Bowl show with the greatest insurance commercial in all the land.
Greg.
Hey, Alec. Get bean dip, bruh. Get your bean dip, man. That's all them
He's on
double
bean dipping me.
That's all them double bean dips did to me. Get bean dip.